The Blue Whale Challenge. A restless mind is a devil's playground. No matter your beliefs, the statement is very true. Nothing good comes from a restless mind. The outcomes are usually injuries, accidental pregnancies, and other bad decisions. I'm a 16-year-old boy, and there is not a lot to do at the age, other than video games, homework, and watching streaming services. This would explain why people in my age group oftentimes do stupid and immature things you often see on the internet. The most recent trend at the time to hit media attention was the Tide Pod Challenge. It involves people, mostly teenagers, eating Tide Pods while filming themselves doing it. And not there having been other challenges over the past decades, such as the Condom Challenge, the Chubby Bunny Challenge, and the most famous being the Ice Bucket Challenge. The one thing that all these challenges have in common is that they start being high media attention for a short time, and then they fade into obscurity. However, there's one trend that has not quite run its course yet, and that is the subject of this story. It's called the Blue Whale Challenge. Here is a quick disclaimer before I begin. Names have been changed for the privacy of the deceased, and for myself and other people in the story. However, everything else in this tale is true, except for the people's names. Now that the introduction is out of the way, let me begin my story of the Blue Whale Challenge. All of this began back in January of this year. Winter break had come to an end, and was back to boring class and long nights of homework. However, the first day of the second semester of my junior year of high school would be quite different. When class started, my English teacher told us that Miranda, one of our classmates, had committed suicide over the Christmas break. We were then told that an investigation had begun over suicide because it was linked to an internet trend called the Blue Whale Challenge, and if anyone had any information about it, who went to talk to the vice principal after school. After the morbid announcement, my teacher began the lesson. After the first period ended, I went to study hall. During the class, we are allowed to catch up on late work and knock out homework that was assigned to us that day, so we could have free time when we go home. As long as we were occupied with something, Mrs. Smith didn't care what we were doing. We were allowed to listen to music while we worked, and I told the teacher that I would be needing my phone for research for a project. She said it was okay, and I sat down at my desk. When I googled the Blue Whale Challenge, the first thing that popped up was Miranda's suicide. It had made the local headlines in my city's newspaper. It had been a 10th suicide connected to this trend in the past year. The rest of the report were people rambling on and on about suicide prevention. After leaving the website, I went to another website and found about the rules to the game. The way it works is that you get on a social media page and you make a status and end it with a hashtag Blue Whale or anything asking to be in the game. An anonymous curator will then reach out to you and give you a set of daily tasks to complete over a 50-day period. After 50 days are over, the game ends in death. After reading this, I had some questions. Who were the curators? What were my tasks? Why does the game end in death? I looked up a list of tasks that previous challengers were given. They ranged from watching scary videos that were sent by the curators to various amounts of self-harm and being set in places at odd hours. Basically, you do what the curator says. I wondered why anyone would do something like this. I couldn't understand a lot of the other crazy challenges, because people did them for attention. This just seemed like pure torture. Curiosity infected my brain like the plague. I had to know what exactly would happen if I did this challenge and switched things up a bit. Would I get a penalty? Or was this all some kind of sick prank? I went to my Twitter page and posted #IamAWill. After that, the bell of the third period rang. Throughout the day, I did not receive any response from anyone at all. I ended up forgetting about the whole thing altogether until the evening. I was busy with homework, and I was torn from deep thought by the sound of my phone going off. It was a direct message from a Twitter account with no profile picture. The screen name read Peacekeeper59, and the message had 4 words that sunk my heart like a stone. Welcome to the game. I saw that the user was typing. Reply with your phone number. You have 5 minutes to do so, or there will be consequences. I replied with my phone number. Thanks, the user typed. I received a text from a number that read 0991. Welcome to the game, Carl. For your first task, you will watch a video I will send you. You are to watch it all the way through and follow the instruction at the timestamp 7.59. If you fail to do so, there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? I asked. You or someone you love will disappear, replied the user. Now, you either cooperate, or that will happen. Complete your first task and you move on to the next. That is your job. We are watching you. I looked at my messages on Twitter, and I saw that there was a download link to the video. The video was called Ending the Night AV. I downloaded it and began watching. For the first 2 minutes, nothing happened. I was just shown an empty bedroom. There was a queen-sized bed, a nightstand with an old digital clock, and a few posters of classical rock bands scattered around the room. It seemed like a typical bedroom for a guy. Then I heard the door open and close. I could hear what sounded like a man and a woman. They were laughing and talked to each other about their night. I then saw them walk into the room, kissing very passionately. They were very attractive people. The girl was dressed very gothically. She wore a black low-cut dress and a pair of combat boots. She had smooth snow-white skin and long jet black hair, along with black lipstick. The guy was very plain compared to the girl, but still very handsome. He was a thin white male. He wore a red button-down shirt and designer jeans. He had short brown hair and blue eyes. When the video hit the 2-minute mark, things got a bit steamy. The girl began to kiss the guy's neck, and not long afterwards, she got on her knees and unbuttoned his pants. For about 30 seconds I watched her perform oral on him, but after that there was a jump cut. The two were having sex, and what looked to be really good sex. A slight grin went across my face when I wondered if I wasn't just sent some sex tape as a dumb joke. The teenager in me wanted to get his rocks off to this video, but the logical part of me feared my dick will be all over the internet if I did that. So, I continued to watch this goth girl ride this man with both hands on my desk. Suddenly, the guy blurts out, "I have an idea." I couldn't make out what they were saying, but the girl seemed on board with it. The guy walked out of the room, while the goth girl stayed in bed. For about a minute, she played with her phone while the dude was gone. He then came back in the room with a bag and pulled out a vibrator and a pair of handcuffs. He chained the girl's arms and legs to the bed frame, and then he reached into the bag again. I shuddered, as I thought he was going to pull out a butcher knife, but he was blindfolded instead. He then blindfolded the girl, and then went down on her. After 15 seconds, there was another jump cut. This time, the man was holding the camera. He was filming himself, carving a will into the girl's flesh, just below her navel. She wasn't screaming. She was moaning with pleasure. After he was done, the man said, "Now you're mine forever." The girl replied with a pleased, "I love you." And then the video hit the 7.59 timestamp. The screen read, "Be at this location at 1 AM sharp at January 15th. Do not be 1 minute late." Suddenly, GPS coordinates popped up on my screen. I wrote them down on a piece of printing paper and put it in my pocket. January 15th was in about a week and a half. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized that this was only the beginning of my ordeal. I found myself at the bottom of the ocean. Around me, schools of fish were swimming by. I saw seaweed and coral. When I looked up, I could see the sun's light beaming down on top of me. I gasped, shocked by my surroundings. That is when I realized I was drowning. I could breathe underwater. I began to swim forward, and I saw more marine life as I progressed. Sharks, squid, flounders, and even a lobster. But I smiled when I saw a Paraconterus hepatis, or as I like to call Dory. But my joy will be cut short when I stumbled upon an enormous cavern. It was a mile wide or more, and inside of it was pure darkness. I looked up and noticed there were no fish around me. Silence filled the area around me. There was absolutely no noise at all. I couldn't hear the water flowing or any sign of life. I couldn't hear myself breathing. I tried talking, even shouting. There was nothing. I didn't feel the vibration of my vocal cords working. It was as if my senses were turned off. But by what? By who? Even in the most quiet room in the world, you can still hear yourself being alive. The sounds of your body working. But here at the bottom of the ocean, there was just pure, undisturbed silence. "Carl," a woman's voice called. I looked around, startled by the sudden noise. The shock of the voice was like jumping into a swimming pool after being in a hot tub. "Carl," the voice was coming from the cavern. "Come down here with us," she said. "It's better this way. Come down here in peace." The woman's soft voice gave me a welcome sense. It felt safe, loved and wanted. I then realized that I stopped moving and I was sinking into the cavern. "No, child!" A man's deep voice roared from above. "Don't go into the darkness," it ordered. "Come with me. Stay with me a little longer, and you will see more of the world." "You are too good for this world, Judah," the motherly voice assured. "Come with me, and you will have the peace you deserve." "Yes, Judah," a familiar voice agreed. "It's amazing down here. Come be with us. Come be with me." "Stay away from them, Judah," the man's voice snarled. "Swim up to the light." After I gave it some thought, I recognized the other voice from the pit as my classmate Miranda. I began to swim towards the light because I knew what was in the cavern. I knew what was in store for me in the pit. The pit was the entrance to the other side, the realm of the dead. "Don't leave us," the mineral voice begged. "Don't leave us, Carl." "Silence, demon!" the man's voice ordered. I looked at the pit as I swam away from it as fast as I could, getting further away from the pit with every ascension to the surface. I was now high above it and swimming towards the light, ready to meet the man behind the voice. When I faced forward, I saw Miranda. Her face was pale blue, and a hanged man's noose was tightly wrapped around her neck. Her eyes were bulging from her skull, and a tongue swelled out of her mouth. I could tell she had been dead for about a week, dangling from a noose like a Christmas ornament. It wasn't long before I noticed that a rope was coming from the pit. "It's better this way," Miranda whispered. Her mouth did not move when it spoke, but I could hear her voice inside my head. She was speaking to me telepathically. "You are too good for this world," she told me. Suddenly, I was consumed by bright light. "Forget to set your alarm again?" my mom asked, leaving the room. She had turned the lights on. As a light sleeper, any little thing can wake me up. I reached over to my nightstand and took my phone off the charger. I looked at my phone, and I noticed that I had another message from the curator. "We need you to be a little more established." The message read, "Carve will into your arm in all caps, just like it is on the message. I expect this to be done and have a picture sent to me by 9:30 p.m. Fail to complete this task and there will be consequences." There's the word again, I thought. Consequences. Who do they think they are threatening me like this? I'm not cutting myself for some challenge. I looked back at the message. It was sent at 3:30 a.m., which was 3 hours ago. The first thing that came to my mind was on Fada's neckbeard, sitting in front of his laptop, in his crusty boxes, typing this message out to me next to his anime porn. I chuckled at the thought and blocked the number. The day was just a normal one, a little too normal. My teachers gave their lectures, and I did my class work. However, at lunch, things felt a bit off. I sat at a table with my group of friends and noticed that things felt light. For example, the table I was sitting at felt like it was softening up. The hard wooden table was starting to feel like if I pressed on it hard enough, my hand would go through it with ease, as if there was a hand clay sculpture. But it seemed like as long as I was touching it, it remained solid. As a short time passed, I began to feel the same way about the floor, the ceilings and the walls. The light blue color of the walls was standing out like a bright lit candle in a dark room. Many colors around me seemed to stand out more than usual. Colors of people's clothes, colors of the food on the trays. It seemed like everything was so bright lit, and everything around me felt so light. I felt like it was an early morning, and I don't have to go to school, so I just lay back down and go to sleep. I quickly start to dream. I'm just asleep enough to dream, but aware enough to realize it's a dream. I feel the calmness of my slumber, and the crisp air of the early morning, and I can even smell the freshness morning air. "You are too good for this world," a voice whispered. I jolted backwards and fell out of my seat. In response, I was given more than a few laughs by some of the kids on another table. My friends held me up, and I got back to my table. Once I was situated, things went back to normal again. It was then I began to think about Miranda. She had it rough during her last days. Before the Christmas break, it had gotten out that she was sleeping with a student teacher that was working with Mrs. Hall, our math teacher. His name was Alan, and he attended the local university. I noticed that Alan and Miranda looked at each other very affectionately. I noticed that they could often be seen talking to each other throughout the day. However, it could all come to an end when Miranda's nudes were leaked on social media. Her phone was stolen during gym class. It was long before the police was involved, and was discovered that she was sending the pictures to Alan. Once that conclusion was made, Alan was arrested. Within a few weeks, it was discovered that Sophia Black, the girl who was supposed to be Miranda's best friend, was the person who leaked the lewd pictures. In her last days, Miranda was the laughingstock of school. People wrote words like snot and cunt on her locker. One day, I saw her storming out of the cafeteria, covered in milk and mashed potatoes, because everyone at the table threw so much food at her. Life was rough. I hoped that things would blow over during the winter break, but things took a tragic end. My phone buzzed in my pocket, ripping me out of my morbid thoughts. I looked at my phone and saw a text message from the curator. Strange, I thought. I blocked the number. I opened the message. I was shocked at what I'd said. "You're too good for this world." It read in all caps, as if the person was shouting at me. I was confused. Why was this phrase appearing so much? I then received another message from them. "This is a permanent solution to a temporary problem." Another one. "It can't rain forever." My phone began to ring. The number read 0991 and the time was 7:59 p.m. I looked up and noticed that I was alone in the cafeteria, with a single light above my head. Everyone had just vanished. Outside it was pitch black. There were no trees, no ground, not even the sky was present, just nothing. I answered the phone on its last ring. "Hello?" I said carefully. "Hello, Carl. Or should I say Miranda?" "I'm Carl." I laughed. When I laughed, my voice was no longer in a lower pitch. I had a very high pitch, like a feminine sounding voice. I looked down, and I saw that I had a slim hourglass figure and a pair of breasts. I had long black hair. I was Miranda. "Carl was a close friend and classmate of yours," the voice said. "He asked you to be his girlfriend, and you rejected him. You always said you wished you could be someone else for a day." "Who are you?" I asked. "I am your higher self. I'm the part of you that is more aware, and wiser, and more mature part of you. The part of you that knows that there's more to life than the experiences that you have suffered through. However, I cannot control the final verdict. I'm only here to deliver a message. I'm calling you to let you know that your time in this comatose state is ending. The time to make a choice is now. The reason it's so dark outside is because you're so close to death, but yet so close to life. If you walk out of the door into the darkness, death will embrace you with strong arms. I cannot promise you afterlife of paradise or one of torment, but stepping into the darkness guarantees your death. If you walk through the door of light, you will resume your life. The incident at your school will still be known, but that part of your life will soon pass within a couple of years. It will be a bad memory. Your choice is yours, Miranda. Life or death. The memories hit me like a foreign train. The girl in that video of the couple having sex was me. I had sex with Alan. That was when I remembered the GPS coordinates. I reached in my pocket and found them. 12, 23, 18. They weren't coordinates. It was the date of my suicide. And 7.59 was the last time I looked at my phone's clock. I attempted suicide on December the 23rd, 2018, at 7:59 p.m. I waited until my mother left for work, and I went to the basement and hung myself. The Blue Whale Challenge was a news report I was watching with my mom before she left. I looked to my left, and I saw the glass door with a bright white light shining through it like a heavenly glorious. To my right was the door across the cafeteria and led outside into pure darkness. I thought about all the things I could be in life. I thought about getting married, having children, and the amazing life experiences I could have. I looked at the door that led to my death. If I died, I wouldn't have to deal with any of my life's problems. No more pain. No more people calling me names. No more worrying about school. Isn't life worth it? I thought. Would people even miss me? I looked at the door that led to life. I walked over it and grabbed the handle with both hands. When I opened it, I was once again consumed by bright light. I woke up in a hospital bed. In front of me was a nurse with her back to me. Before I could get her attention, she walked out of the room. But she would speak the cryptic recurring words from my dream. "You're too good for this world.